this, I could probably say that Don't Breathe 2 is the weirdest horror sequel that I've seen. How's everybody? So new review today, we're talking about the upcoming horror sequel, Don't Breathe 2. It's been about 5 years now since Don't Breathe. I've really loved the first film. I think it's one of the best modern horror films. It's a great on-the-edge-of-your-seat thriller. Never really expected a sequel, even if there were rumblings for years that a sequel was coming, but the film made $150 million at the box office, so they were going to find a way to make a sequel one way or another. After the events of the first film, the blind man's been hiding out in an isolated cabin, and he's taken on a young girl who lost her parents in a fire, but things one day take a turn as a group of people kidnap the girl, forcing him to leave his home and rescue her. Just from that synopsis alone, I was concerned going in because if you've seen the first film, he's kind of a terrible person and we're seemingly kind of making him the hero in this sequel. It isn't to say that people don't root for the bad guy in horror films. I mean, look at all the big horror icons. Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger. But in this film, it's just generally very strange as they try to make you sympathize with the guy and you know how terrible he was in the first film. Of course, Stephen Lang's character is one of the best parts of Don't Breathe. He was a very creepy antagonist. This time around, they do try to flip the script, making him this protagonist, and I think that he's actually doing at least a decent job with what he's given, but he's just not interesting enough to be a main character protagonist type to follow along on a journey. They really do try their best to make you sympathize with this character throughout the film as he takes in this girl and protects her, but I just don't feel it with this character. Like, you ruined that kind of exploration of your character in the first film with the kind of gross, disgusting things he did. Now you have moments in this film where you genuinely want me to root for this guy. Like, it's just not gonna happen. I'm sorry. It certainly doesn't help the fact that there are no characters in this that are likable by any means. I think we have no interesting characters whatsoever to follow along this journey. He's the guy that you follow. Even outside of that, the film just lacks everything that made that first Don't Breathe so interesting. There are just really no scenes in Don't Breathe 2 that match that sort of intensity and fear factor from the first film as we delve a little bit more into action this time around. Brutality aspect from the first film is still there in this as we see the blind man take on all these various different kidnappers and take them out, but it's just so poorly shot in this time around. I know this is a first-time director. The other co-writer from the first film is directing this time around instead of Fede Alvarez, but a fair amount of this film is just not shot very well. The action scenes that we do get, a lot of them are in this almost shaky cam style, close-up style, and it's just kind of nauseating to watch after a while. There's also just so many points in the film where it's just overly dark, and not even dark in a sense of like it's too gross to watch. Like, I can't see anything. These scenes just have like this impenetrable darkness that I just can't see anything that's going on. Between that and also the smoke, there's a lot of smoke in this film, and it's so prominent that you can't see what's going on in the film. Like, I don't know if they were trying to invoke scenes from the first film where you're in the dark and you can't see what's going on, but it just lacks the style and flair that we got in the first film when it was directed by Fede Alvarez. Just like in the first film, there are big twists and turns in this film as well, which I won't delve into because that is spoilers. You have to watch the film for yourself to find those out, pertaining to why these people are terrorizing the blind man. This time around, the twists aren't really all that interesting. They're very nonsensical and convoluted, if I'm being honest. It kind of took me out of the film even more so. I was really hoping going into this that the trailers are going to deceive me and it's actually going to be something completely entirely different where we're not supposed to root for this guy, but, you know, that is exactly what it is, unfortunately. I know that they called him an anti-villain, whatever the hell that means, but I can't root for this dude. Like, I'm sorry. I suppose I could commend them for trying to flip the script when it comes to doing a horror sequel, making the bad guy someone you root for, but it was just not executed well in this case. I was really, unfortunately, not a big fan of Don't Breathe 2. I don't recommend checking it out. I mean, you still have the amazing first film. You want to check that out more. I'd probably try and just act like this film doesn't exist. If you're a horror fan, you're probably going to check it out one way or another anyway. I would recommend checking it out probably when it hits PVOD at some point in time. I don't know when that's going to release at some point, but it is a miss on my part, at least in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of this film. I certainly won't be one of the people that will be hoping for a Don't Breathe 3 because I hope that does not happen. I don't think this film's going to make as much as that first film did. Like I said, it made over $150 million. So we'll see what happens. Make sure you share your thoughts down below. What do you think of Don't Breathe 2 if you get a chance to check it out in theaters? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were you a fan of the choices they made in this film? Were you rooting for this guy the whole long? Were you not rooting for this guy? Either way, share your thoughts down below. It's part of the fun is having that discussion with you guys down below in the comment section. I like for all these movies and TV with you guys on the channel. Thank you as always for checking out my reviews, so I really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe button. We'll keep movie reactions, unboxings, and more on the channel. But next time, I'll see you guys later.